Alright, so there we go. A former police officer who wasn't wrong with the law happens to be in prison, and then suddenly is forced out of prison before his release date by a detective who has been tailing the mafia and the system of their operation in his state for a very long time. He's released by him and forced into the operation as an undercover agent. So now we saw the picture that they are trying to paint. This guy who you get out of prison is very smart. He saves the life of the brother of one of the biggest dealers in that cartel, which is GRIFF. So his brother in prison puts in a good word for him. So that was the only way and the only key they had to the bigger picture. The detective himself already has about 5 people undercover, which were killed one at a time. They started being spooked. They were easily spooked. So now the problem was with keeping the mole in the system active. And that was where Terry could come in. So he was really good, very street smart, because he's handled a lot of, drugs, in the past, as he was in prison for probably one of those acts. Meanwhile, he has a little niece which needed a heart surgery, and he needed the money as urgent as possible. Probably that was what got him in prison. So that was why he started to do drugs. So fast forward, he is forced into that operation by a detective because he has more years to be in jail if he had not been released at that time. So, out of prison, and now expecting a call from the person who promised him a new life and a new job. And that job was never going to come if he hadn't saved his cellmate's life, which happens to be the brother of the dealer, the mafia dealer. So, GRIFF has a lot of impulsive, action towards killing. In his mindset, he saw that what good would a mole do to the system? There is no good a mole in the system. They need to be eliminated as soon as possible. And that was what he did. Any one of them he found out, he killed them immediately. And this was the kind of person Terry had to deal with. He was someone with the impulse of eliminating any threat he feels. And meanwhile, in the police department, there were 2 types of moles. One for the police department, which was the one the detective was organizing against the mafia. He has up to 5 people in his team, so including Terry, we had 6 now. So against the police department in the police system, we have one of the superiors to the detective was a mole. So he handled every of the information relating to the mafia, and then he tells them what move the detective is making every time. So that becomes a very big challenge. It takes a very long time for the detective to find out that his boss was onto it. And this was a very big setback for him. He knew that he was going to face a lot of challenges, but his life was in danger. Immediately he found out that his boss was also into it, and he's been the one feeding the information concerning the mafia and then relating the ones he has to them. I must hand it down to GRIFF. In this movie, he played a lot of hands that a lot of people would find very difficult. He said to his brother, remember the saying of our father to us. He says, always be 1 step ahead of your enemies. And that was exactly what he always did. How he evaded the police, trying to search and catch them. The drugs in the blocks, in the bricks they were molding. He told this guy that, hey, these drugs are entering these bricks, and then we're molding it and shipping it all over the nation. And that happened to be one of the biggest diversion in history, because there was no drug in those bricks. They were all diversion, and he used it to eliminate a lot of CIA officers, plus the normal police officers who were already onto him at that moment. But we saw another diversion of them going to the Vatican with the drugs. It was now in a truck waiting for everything to lie low so that they can escape. But unfortunately, other guys were smarter than them. Terry and another undercover cop who was so much unlisted. She was the only person pure that was unlisted and didn't have a target on her back. Nobody knew about her till later on in the movie. That was when we saw it. She was the only person who saved that particular role and movie. At the very end, she was an undercover cop, worked for the drug cartel, but later on in the movie we saw that she was a CIA agent who has been on the mission for a very long time, that nobody even knows that she was a rat. One of the biggest shipments to happen in about 2 years now. So now he takes on this big parade and leads the whole gang into action. We saw the movie, and every of the intellectual ability GRIFF displayed in the movie was really, really smart. It shows that he has been in the game for a very long time. He knows the routes, knows the guys, and knows who to threat. That is why he's an impulsive killer. Nobody dares to double cross him. If you mention his name in any gang or operation, you have your way straight ahead. Alright, make sure you subscribe to the channel and keep your notification button on so that the next video you will be notified.